Good debt versus bad debt. That's the topic for today's episode, and without further ado, let's dive in. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode. For those who are tuning in for the first time, this is your channel for real estate education. So the topic for today will be all about debt. And the reason why I decided to create this video is because the subject of debt creates a lot of controversy around pretty much everybody that encounters the subject, no? So what exactly is that? And is it really truly as bad as you think it is? Or is it really as bad as some people claim it is, right? So we have debt right here, right? And you have all kinds of extremists, right? So you have the ones that hate debt, that is really bad for you. You shouldn't have any debt. You shouldn't have any credit card. You shouldn't do anything with it because it's bad. Like it can consume you. You wind up paying interest and all that. And then there's the other side of the spectrum of people. We're talking about shopaholics, people who have a lot of debt on random stuff that perhaps they don't even need, but they have it. They have that debt right there because they want to get a lifestyle. They want to live something that it's beyond what they can actually afford to get, and they're drowning in that. But I'm the kind of person who managed to do a lot with debt, right? I leverage debt to my advantage. So what are the key differences, and how can that actually help you, not just as a real estate investor, but at the same time as a person, as a human being? What can really debt do for you, right? So first things first, let's just forget about, being extremist or people on the whole complete different side of the spectrum. And let's just consider simple terms like, let's say, for example, we have bad debt. I'm going to start with bad debt first. And then I have what they call good debt here, right? So what makes up bad debt? A lot of people think, well, credit card, it's something that could be considered bad debt, right? Why? Because it's debt that I have to pay. I am accumulating interest and stuff like that. And therefore, I have to work really hard to pay for it, right? But what if I were to challenge you in a different way? Can credit cards be good debt as well? Let's just think about it. I'm pro saying yes, credit cards can be a good debt. When can credit cards become a good debt? So let's say, for example, I like investing in real estate with credit cards, right? So I have my credit card right here, credit card one, and then all of a sudden I decided to use some of this money as funding for the down payment of one of my properties. And if this is the first time you're actually tuning into my channel, I talk a lot about leveraging credit cards for your investments, for your real estate investments. And if you're curious to find out why, here's going to be a playlist down here in the description box below. So make sure you check that out. And I'm also going to leave you the link that's going to take you straight to that video that talks about how you can invest in real estate using credit cards. But back to the subject right here. And let's just focus on the whole idea about using credit card and turning that credit card into good debt. So you have credit card that you're going to use as a down payment. And then you are just simply going to finance the rest with a mortgage, right? So what you wind up getting out of it, right, is you're going to have a house, a nice property right here that you're going to wind up collecting rent out of it, right? So you get rent, and with that rent, you in essence are not only covering the mortgage, but at the same time, you're also covering the credit card payment, and therefore you're reducing both of those debt without having you to do any physical work whatsoever. Because if this is a property that you're renting out, then that makes it a passive income. And that's what, in essence, what makes good debt. Now, if you're using that credit card, let's say, for example, to buy expensive shoes, to go partying, or to, I don't know, get the latest Louis Vuitton bag, which I love, right? But none of these items are actually paying in and itself. If anything, they depreciate the minute you walk out of the store with them. And that means that the debt is still there. So let's say, for example, with a pair of shoes, I don't know, Let's talk about, for example, Gucci designer shoes, right? We're talking about a pair of shoes that can cost up to $1,000. And the minute you walk out of it, it loses value because one, you're walking with them, so therefore they get all dirty. And it's not creating any source of passive income whatsoever, because it's not like you're gonna rent it out or anything like that. You're buying it for you, unless you're buying it with the purpose of renting it out, then that's another subject. But focusing on this item, let's say, for example, you buy $1,000 worth of a pair of designer shoes, and therefore you have to work really hard, sweat your life out in order to be able to pay for this credit card debt. And then on top of that, you're adding more by going to partying, because of course you have to show off your nice shoes, and maybe you need another piece of accessory to complement those pair of shoes, which could be a bag of Louis Vuitton, right? And next thing you know, you're stuck with $4,000 worth of credit card debt, and none of it is paying by itself, and you have to work really hard in order to work that debt down. Liking the subject so far? Make sure you hit the like button right here to let me know that you're actually enjoying the content. And now that you have it taken care of, let's just get back into the video. So the whole distinction between bad debt or good debt, I know it sounds fairly easy, but let's just be honest. No one can expand in anything without the use of a debt, right? So think about those big companies who issue debt, they issue stock, they need money, they need to get into debt in order to grow, and therefore they need to borrow money. And it's the same thing for you as a real estate investor. How many of you have managed to buy an entire building or lots and lots of properties by just saving money from your job, from your job? That's just nearly impossible, right? And that's one of the things that I'm trying to basically help people understand, that yes, sometimes getting into debt is risky, but at the same time, it's something that, hey, it requires some effort and it requires some managing. And if you manage it properly, the benefits can outweigh the risk. That's why it's called calculated risk, right? You educate yourself in order to get to someplace else. I think a couple of months ago, I actually gave an example about a car, right? Is a car loan, in fact, good debt or bad debt? And I think the key here is that you always ask yourself, what is it that I want to get out of it? What's the mission of this car? Let's just put it that way. If I'm going to get into credit card debt, what's the mission of that credit card debt? What do I want it to do for me? Always ask that. What do I want that to do for me? So let's say, for example, with something as simple as a car. I remember that when I was in college and I bought my first car, the very first thing people used to tell me is, why do you want to get into a car? It's a bad debt. Like, why? Because it's going to lose its value the minute you walk out of the door or the minute you drive it out the door. But what if I challenge you to think a little bit differently? And let's say, for example, if I want to buy that car, right, and I want to use it, you know, to a certain degree, but at the same time, I can use companies like Turo, right, which is kind of like the Airbnb of cars, right? You can rent it out for a couple of days for people to use, and then with whatever money you're getting out of that rental, you use it to pay your car. Then it's sort of like becoming into passive assets, right? Something that's going to give you passive income. And let's say if you get a car and then you wind up leasing it to Uber, right? And then Uber is paying you a certain amount of money at the end of the month for using your car. Then all of a sudden, what used to be a bad debt, it became a good debt. And now you don't have to physically work hard in order to repay that car loan, but you're letting other sources like Turo, like Uber, help you pay for that car. So in essence, debt is not necessarily bad. In this case, you are getting yourself into debt, right? You're getting into credit card debt, you're getting yourself into a mortgage, which is even more debt, but it is pain in and itself. If you were to think about it, having your own home, having your own house, and having a mortgage in your own home, it's in fact a bad debt, because if you're living in it, that means you're paying for it. That means you have to work for it. What's going to happen when you stop working? Would you be able to pay for that mortgage? And the answer to that will be no. So contrary to popular belief, your home, it's in fact not an asset. It's actually a liability because you have to work for it. It's more or less considered bad debt, unless you use that property and all of a sudden you decide to do a cash out refi or take a HELOC and use it to invest in another property. and then have that rental income money to cover the new mortgage, and at the same time cover that HELOC or cover that cash out refi that you took out in order to invest. And if you have no idea what a cash out refi is, and if you have no idea what a HELOC is, here is a link down below in the description box where you're gonna get access to a video or also a playlist where you can learn more about the subject. So that's all I have for today. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about today's content. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.